the roster. And again, until we get through that process and then understand exactly, what resources we're going to have available to us, we really haven't got an action plan in place yet.
Next one's from Ed Daniels.
Mickey, how important is it to retain Trey Hendrickson, and is he a big item for you, so to speak, in the offseason?
Well, look, Trey had a great season, a breakout season for him, and obviously he's going to be an attractive, free agent for anyone. But again, that's all part of the planning process. Part of that has to do with certainly we would want him back, but I can't really say how strong a play we can make for that until I understand where the cap's going to be this year, and as we go through the roster evaluations and start making our choices.
Next one's from Mike Triplett.
Mickey, I know you guys have a pretty good record against the salary cap over the years, even when people think it's going to handcuff you. But is this a more daunting situation, or is it? Do you envision that you're going to actually have to pick some players on the team that can't be with the team because of the cap, or what's your outlook on it right now?
Yeah, I think this. Look, for sure, it's going to be challenging, and yet I don't want to speculate as to how challenging it's going to be until we have a better understanding of what's going to be available, not just for this year, but even for the year after. So I can't really answer that question other than to say, yeah, it's going to be daunting. I think it's going to be daunting for a majority of teams in our league.
And do you think, because of the combination of the cap and the possibility of any changes at quarterback, do you guys have to decide if you want to stay putting every resource you can into contending for a championship in 2021, or sort of we have to rebuild and we have to rebuild this cap, or is there an in-between?
Yeah, that's kind of tough to answer right now, but listen, we've got a great roster, and I can't foresee a circumstance where we're not going to say, man, we're going to do everything we can to win now and compete for a championship. So, but again, it's difficult to really get into specifically what we need to do until we have more information.
Next one's from John DeSazier.
Mickey, when you mention those unknowns, do you have several different projections that you kind of apply, and then when you know the knowns, be able to make one applicable, or do you just wait until things firm up? And second, how has scouting changed you bring over from last year to this year?
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part of that. The first part, yeah, I would say we have a framework of things that we know we can do, and whether we need to do them and to what extent remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, we've thought about, okay, the different levels that we'll have to deal with.
Next one's from Larry Holder.
Mickey, broad question here, but where does this team need to improve to advance further in a season?
Well, again, I think that the answer to that will kick out of, our end of season evaluations. And, there's a lot of variables to that, including, who are the free agents on our team, and, who do we end up losing? There's just too many unanswered questions for me to answer that specifically, because we don't have all of the information yet. Certainly, we can always improve, and we're always looking to improve, but give me a few weeks here and I'll be able to answer that a little more specifically.
Next one's from Nick Underhill.
Mickey, what will the impact be of losing Terry Fontenot, and do you guys have someone you're going to replace him with yet?
Yeah, look, Terry Fontenot has been fantastic for us, and we're excited that he gets this opportunity. We have some guys in the building that we have a lot of faith in, and talented guys, and so we'll adapt. Look, you never like to lose, good people, and both in the personnel and the coaching side, but we're excited for all those guys and the opportunities that they've got.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, that was basically my question. But what is the timeline there with potentially making a change there and putting somebody in that position, and then as well as the coaching staff changes that you need to make as well?
Yeah, I don't know that we have a set timetable. We're going to take our time, make sure we make the right decision. There's no hurry. There's no reason to be in a hurry. It's more important to get it right than it is to, do it fast.
Next one's from Catherine Terrell.
Hey, Mickey, I was wondering if this year feels like there's more turnover than normal. I know there are years where you move a lot of coaches around and lose a lot of coaches, but to me, it just feels like it's a bigger turnover, I guess, because they've been here longer. I don't know if you have that sense at all, or if it's just kind of NFL business as usual.
I would say it does feel like more than usual, but part of that may be just that, look, so many guys had opportunities to interview and were close. Not just the guys that ended up getting opportunities, but some of the guys that interviewed and got close to being offered new opportunities. So it does feel like there was a lot of that. I think when we just count the numbers, it probably isn't too unusual, but it does feel like that. I agree.
Next one's from Fletcher Mackel.
When Sean did his season ender, he talked about liking the players in the quarterback room, Taysom and Jameis. How do you all maybe reconcile that with also potentially, if you do explore veterans who may be available during the offseason, knowing that you like what you have, even if it's a little bit more unproven, but there may be proven veterans out there in some capacity? Is that something you all discuss, and how do you kind of thread the needle to do both?
Yeah. Again, the answers to that will kick out over the next few weeks as we go through evaluations and we talk about our roster, we talk about every position. Generally speaking, we target our own guys first, but again, that there's a lot of that. The answers to that remain to be seen here, and we'll get the answers to that over the next few weeks.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
Kind of related to that, Mickey. It looks like this sort of offseason could just be like a lot of backs kind of moving around throughout kind of the league as it was last year. How does that, if at all, change like offseason process for player acquisition?
I'm sorry, you cut out. I really didn't get the question.
I'm sorry, Mickey. It looks like there might be just like a possibility for like a lot of quarterback turnover kind of around the league, like there was last year. That at all affect acquisition from your standpoint?
You still cut out. I think you're asking me about the quarterbacks that are going to be out there. There was a number last year, and it looks like there might be a number available this year. And again, all that evaluation and what happens with that still remains to be seen. We'll talk about every position again, but look, we like Taysom, we like Jameis, we like what they did for us. But again, just like every other position, we're gonna have a lot of discussions over the next week or two, and move on from there.
Next one's from Amos Morale.
Yeah, I know you're still really early in the prospect evaluation part of it, but have you noticed any strengths of this draft class or any areas where you think there's a little bit more talent?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that yet, although, man, I was really impressed with so far with the group here in Mobile. I think they've got, a lot of talent, a lot of good looking players, and it feels like we know less about this class of players than any class in recent memory, just because of, the COVID restrictions, the restrictions on scouts getting into campuses, as well as, the fact that there were so fewer games played in college football this year. So I'm anxious to get going with our group, but I feel good about it just at this first glance.
Next one's from Mike Triplett.
Two real quick here, Mickey. First of all, are you guys officially getting definitely 2 third-round compensatory picks after Terry was hired, or is that still not finalized?
Yeah, I think it's final. I mean, I haven't got a notification or anything like that, but I'm not sure what the process is if they give that, but certainly he qualified, and I'm expecting that.
And then when it comes to drafting quarterbacks, I think it's easy for people to say, oh, you know what the Saints should do? They should draft one in round 3 or 4 or 5 and develop him, and he'll be ready to start in a couple years. How come that so rarely actually happens in the NFL? I think like Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe Kirk Cousins are a couple examples of guys who are drafted in the middle rounds and started a couple years later, but it seems to rarely happen. Is that hard to identify the talent at the position, or hard to have the patience to develop a guy over 3 years? Or
well, look, I think first of all, there have been a number of examples. Russell Wilson's an example of a guy that didn't go in the first round and was developed and actually played early on. But I think this, for you to draft a player, in the second or third round, you got to love the player. You got to have a vision for him, and oftentimes, look, we've had guys that we've had our eye on and a target on, but they got taken before we could get them. So over the years, that's happened. I think playing the position number one and being successful at it is a difficult proposition in the NFL. So, there's that part of the development, but it can certainly occur and has occurred. And we'll see what happens this year. I think there's a number of good quarterback prospects in this draft.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
I'm going to be Luke since his internet's not working. Do you know how many comp picks in addition to the ones for Terry that you'll have this year?
Yeah, I don't have that information yet. We're typically we get that at the labor seminar, which didn't occur this year, but they're going to do that I think in the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll have an answer on what we have.
Can I jump in real quick on the Quan trade? Did he meet the playtime incentives to where you guys got to give up? I believe it's the 5th, or will you guys keep that?
It's a good question. I don't have the answer to it at my fingertips here.
Last one's from Sean Fazend.
Hey, Mickey, I'm sorry if I missed this earlier, but is Terry taking any scouts with him to Atlanta, or has that been discussed at all?
Currently, he is not.
All right, we're all set. Time, Mickey. Thank you. We're all set.
Thank you.